the heck is a central bank digital currency, and why does it matter? My name's Eric. This is above my pay grade. Let's get into it. I'm in my study today. I was downtown 2 days ago, 66 degrees. If the tan line's proven, I don't know if you guys can see that. Look at that. Got some tan lines, farmer tan. But today, it's snowing. It snowed like 6 inches. Throw a picture here. But let's get into it. Central bank digital currency. Recently, in a Biden's executive order, down in the small print, he charged the Federal Reserve with looking at the potential for developing a central bank digital currency. And I kind of think this isn't a inevitability, but I think we should be very cautious about how much control we give to the Federal Reserve. Keep in mind, Federal Reserve, unelected. So what is a central bank digital currency? It is essentially what you use now. Most of probably what you purchase is through your card, or it's online. So it's digits moving back and forth online. Very few people use cash today. But there's a huge difference between a central bank digital currency and the cash you use today. And what that difference is who controls it. So a central bank digital currency would come from the Federal Reserve. It would be programmable money. So what China has already rolled out a central bank digital currency, and it is a way for them to control inflation and demand. So they can halt savings. For instance, China has done this. They can halt savings by saying, hey, this lot of our Chinese yuan, this is going to expire in 30 days. So let's say their economy is slowing down and they want people to spend. People don't have the right to save there because those digital yuan that they have, they're going to expire. So they'll be no good in 30 days. So China stimulates their economy and controls spending through their digital currency. Why is this a bad thing? I think we can all agree that centralized control is a bad thing. Things that are distributed, where there's multiple people in charge of one thing or another, I think it has a better chance of not being corrupted when there's one central place that controls it. It typically goes downhill fast if you have the wrong person in the seat. So who would set the rules on the central bank digital currency? That is the question. Because I think what's going to happen is it'll be surveillance disguised as a currency. Most digital assets, including Bitcoin, they have an open ledger, meaning whatever the balance sheet is of Bitcoin, who's who in the zoo and who's trading what, you can all see that on the blockchain. However, I don't think the central bank digital currency will have an open ledger where the public can see what's being spent where. I think that would actually be a good thing for us to see where our tax dollars are going. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. On top of that, I think they will have much more control over what you spend money on and your behavior because they can program the money. So therefore, they can say, well, the money doesn't work at this vendor because they're on our naughty list. They're on our terrorist watch list. You might think that's far-fetched, but I don't think anything's really far-fetched after 2020 till now. I don't rule anything out. But I do follow the principle. If there's centralized control, that is typically a very bad thing. So the more the government wants to centralize things, like central bank digital currency, it's in the name, where they say this supreme leader will make the decisions on what money you can spend and where you can spend it at and when it expires. It's bad juju. So be very skeptical. And I will say they're not going to come out with it overnight where one day you have cash and the next day that cash doesn't exist and you're using a CBDC from the Federal Reserve. However, what they might do is, and this is typically how people accept these things, is they will sell it as a solution to a problem. In other words, they'll break your leg and give you a crutch. So they'll sell it by saying, hey, guys, inflation, right? Sucks, which they caused, by the way. This inflation sucks, and if you really want it to stop, we're going to have to implement a central bank digital currency because it has all these properties that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do with the dollar. So if you actually want inflation to stop, we're going to have to implement a central bank digital currency. That'll solve all the problems. A central bank digital currency will be the exact same thing as the dollar as far as how they print it out of thin air, and it won't be backed by anything. In fact, it'll be worse because all they got to do is plug a couple numbers in, and then it's off to the races. So I think it'll be worse than the dollar, and it'll have some surveillance components and programmable components where they can actually tell you what you can spend money on, unlike cash today. Something to think about. Speaking of digital assets, most of you have probably heard of Bitcoin before. I'm a big fan. However, a lot of governments are not big fans. And they typically talk about it as a way of money laundering. And it's not so good because it can undermine the economy because they can't control it. They can't control it. And so one of these important people that said Bitcoin is worthless is a guy by the name of Jamie Dimon. Maybe you've heard of his name. He's the CEO of JP Chase. And if you watched my banks video and how they make money, you could understand why Jamie Dimon would not be a fan of alternate currencies. Things that if he's not close to the printing press, and he can't be with Bitcoin because no one actually controls it, he's probably not going to be a fan of it, right? He can't make a ton of money off of it. So people look at Jamie Dimon and they think, wow, that guy must be smart. He's the CEO of JP Chase. And interestingly enough, JP Dimon is one of the only, I think he is the only W-2 employee to ever be a billionaire. You know, most other billionaires started a company, Tesla, Amazon. JP Dimon, W-2 employee, billionaire. Interesting. But he came out a couple years ago and said Bitcoin's worthless. I have some links down in the description below. But a couple years later, JP Morgan came out with their own digital currency. So Bitcoin's worthless. And why does this one have value? Maybe because you control it? Here's the thing about Bitcoin, why governments don't like it so much. It is a decentralized ledger, meaning you cannot go to one person and say, shut it down, like you can with JP Morgan. You can go there and say the whole business shut down, and we're going to arrest all the people. You cannot do that with Bitcoin. So a lot of governments, a lot of people who have control of the system we are in today are not huge fans of it. So I think you'll see a lot of this when people are selling central bank digital currencies and then trying to discount the other currencies. And I'm going to do more videos on cryptocurrencies. And I am by no means an expert, but I would say this. My eyebrow goes up when somebody says Bitcoin is worthless, and yet they come out with their own digital currency. Anytime that there's not centralized control, that piques my interest. Because if there's not centralized control, I think that enhances freedom. If there is centralized control, I think that it eventually will lead to the death of freedom, the more we give over our rights to a central planner. And that's why I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. And I think that's why Jamie Dimon's not. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you guys think this stuff is important like I do, I would ask you to share this with your friends and family, and I will see you in the next video.